I find it very difficult that everyone's first question is, are you still swimming? Why is she not going to the Olympics? Why is she not
Mhm,
competing?
mhm, mhm.
Um, and I think it's just like it also was worse timing for me to retire, but there's not really a perfect time for you to
Yeah.
retire, right? But it was like, how dare she retire after she just released a film about her life story and making it to the Olympics?
Welcome to Social Kick. I'm Brian Lundquist. We got the full crew: Dr. John Mullen, Luke Paddington, and joining us from SC, Yusra Mardini. What's going on? How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Yeah, we're doing good. Luke said that he's back in the pool this week. John and I are always in the pool, but we want to know about you. How often are you getting in the pool these days?
Oh gosh, that's like right on. I go swimming like maybe once every 2 months or something like that. I
What?
go like running and weightlifting way more often, which is
There we go.
crazy. I know,
We call
but
that the Paddington.
yeah,
That's me.
I know. I even go like yoga, sculpting, and stuff like that. I don't know. I think USC is just changing me.
Well, yeah. What do you think that you could go in a 50 free right now then?
Oh God. Um, I don't know. 28. That's how really bad for
Hey, that's
sure.
not bad. That's not too bad. Yeah, that's faster than Luke's ever been. So, I mean, hey, you're going to be. Yeah. No. Yeah. Pretty interesting to see, like, and reflect on last races and how much people's relationship with the water changes because you've got these
Yeah.
the group of people that when they're done with the pool, they're like totally done with it, and they want nothing to do with it. And then there's those like I think like me, where I've just like always had a connection with the water. Do you? What's your
Yeah.
relationship with it been? Has it been a wanting to distance yourself from it after all of the years of swimming, and also a lot of attention on you for swimming? That like being seen at a pool is just like, yeah. What's
Yeah.
is there anything behind that?
Yeah. I mean, maybe when we're done with this conversation, I'm gonna send you a screenshot of what I told my coach. Because 2 weeks ago, I sent him, I was like, crazy thought, but what happens if I go back? And
Nice.
then he was like, not a crazy thought, but what do you mean? So I think about it a lot. He was like, did you see the qualifying limits for the Olympics for Paris, And I was like, yeah, I saw it, but the thought still crosses my mind a lot. Um, I really miss it, and it's been 2 years now, and I have been trying to try new sports and trying new things to um, learn how to cope with keeping my body fit. Because obviously, when you leave swimming, you've done, you basically have done everything to become a better swimmer, but it's not always healthy and it's not always the right thing for your body. And for me, it was just about finding this balance of being happy with the way I look, the way I feel. I still go and lift like the Hulk at the gym. People probably like are looking at me every time. Like she definitely did some type of sport, and I really love it. So I really love that swimming gave me that. But every time I see anyone, because of the swimmers, they're asking if I'm swimming. Why am I not competing? Why did I give up? So yeah, swimming is involved in my life every day still.
Yeah, I could see that. And also, you saying that about being in the gym, I get that all the time in the gym. And it's usually when I'm doing one specific exercise, it's a single arm dumbbell snatch, from like
Yeah.
a hang position to overhead. And it's just something that's uncommon that most people don't see. And they're like,
Yeah.
what do you do? What are you? What is it that gets people to ask you like,
Yeah.
hey, you're some kind of athlete?
I think the shorter version of that, when you're like, obviously you're taking the bar and then lifting it,
Yeah.
and then you're
Clean.
doing a
Yeah.
squat. I don't know what's
Uh-huh.
that called, but yeah. So when I do that, everyone's like, what, like, who is she? What is she doing?
Mhm,
Especially at
mhm.
USC, it's like everyone's like, all the dudes are there and lifting like a lot of weights, and there aren't many girls, except like either like really gym girls or girls that are focusing on one or two things, or like doing cardio. So When they see me, I'm often at the gym, so I'm sure like they've seen me multiple times. So it's just like, yeah, they stare. No one asks really. I think two people came up to me, and one was just because I'm pretty, and then the second one was like, "You look like you do sport. What is it?" And then I was like, "Yeah, swimming." But I also do not shy away. I put my Olympic rings necklace and I go to the gym.
Good.
I'm like,
Good.
they gotta
That's
know.
quite a flex. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say you were hulking out with the band routine that you were doing.
Do you go to the pool at all when the team is on, when USC practices there? Do you relate to those swimmers at all? Have you met them? Have you been around deck at all of them?
Yeah. I think last year and the year before, I was there more often because I dated someone on that team. But this year, not that often, to be honest. I think they're in Texas now. So they have a meet there, but I haven't been to the pool. I sometimes barely make it to class because I have to balance a work life and going to class. So it's not that regular, but I have a lot of them are friends, and they're pretty cool. Yeah.
We always ask our audience for questions on Instagram at Social Kick Swim for our
They
guests.
send me those questions, by the way, as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
We got a lot of questions.
Yeah, we got a lot. Well, so then you know that there's a bunch of guys who just think you're hot and they want to ask if you're single or
I'm single and I have a type.
well, let's say it on here. The type of swimmers.
I've been in relationships most of my life with only swimmers, which is not intentional, but when you are at the pool the whole time and you're just hanging out around swimmers that look good, you're with them the whole time, you fall in love somehow.
Swimcest is real. It's a real thing. It's a global phenomenon.
Yeah. And I did not
Chlorine
break that
addiction.
cycle yet, so let's see. For now, I'm pretty single and very happy about it, focusing on life.
It sounds like the right time to be single, and it's okay. You've had a lot that you've been working on over the last few years.
Yeah.
I wanted to just
Absolutely.
kind of check in on what is a typical day for you? What's life like right now?
Yeah, so I'm sitting here right now in a beautiful cinematic art school at USC. So I go to class. I not very. So when I miss classes, either I'm speaking, I have speaking engagements, either in the US or in Europe. So I travel a lot. I love fashion, so I am involved in. I walked a few fashion shows last year when I. After a year of retirement, actually shortly after I retired, I walked my first show, and I still am an advocate for refugees worldwide, and I have a foundation, which is very exciting because I get to do what I love through the foundation, which is focusing on education and sports and supporting refugees through that, basically.
It's a lot for someone who's 26, right? I mean, that and I think that you didn't have the luxury of scripting your life in this order. I'm curious how what the life that you're living today, how that reconciles with childhood Yusra and where you saw the path, or are you living a life that maybe just life experiences have brought you open doors and now you're realizing them as you go?
Yeah, if someone told me I would be famous in the swimming world because of, trying to survive, I would be like, no, there's no way. For me, one thing was very clear, and I think you can see it if you watch the swimmers. Swimming was everything to me. And I grew up with a father that was very intelligent as a coach and tried to give me the experience of a coach that, he was learning everything. He was watching every video of Michael Phelps and Bob Bowman, trying to perfect everything. He read Bob Bowman's books. So it was really incredible for me to see that he tried to do everything for me to be better as a swimmer. In the conditions that we had in Syria, it was difficult because sport is not so supported as a career, and then as a woman and an athlete, it was very difficult to convince everyone that I'm doing that because of a profession and not because of just a hobby. And yeah, my dad was a very strong father figure in my life. I even if I was not home, if I had free time, I would be with him when he's coaching swimming, like whether that's for men or whatever other groups. So I was at the pool more than home for sure, and my mom hated it. But yeah, I really had this clear like tunnel vision of just swimming. And then when everything happened with the war and when I turned 13, I think when I was only 12 or 13, I went to my first world championships. I think I was the youngest in that one in Turkey, short course. And I still remember it because I could not find the call room and I missed my 200 IM. So yeah, that was an incredible.
That's not a bad one to miss.
Yeah, that memory haunts me. That haunts me. Like imagine how like the lack of experience that was, for a very 12-year-old to be at the world championships.
Very young.
So yeah, swimming was exactly. So swimming was very important, and the goal was the Olympics since I was like 9 years old.
Yeah, we've talked with other swimmers that their parents have been coaches of them at some point in their career, and it's such a unique relationship, and really seems like a special relationship. While watching the movie, I must say your dad seemed pretty intense. So talk us more about kind of, like you said, your relationship with him in swimming, and maybe how he was just as a dad and just like paving this motivation.
It was very similar in and outside of the pool. So the thing that my dad taught me in the pool is something very important, and it is to separate. So when I was in the pool, I was not allowed to call him dad. It was coach. And I actually struggled with a lot of coaches after I trained with him because I believed in the idea, and I still believe in it. No, and I still believe in the idea. I don't call anyone that, but anyway. So yeah. So basically, it's just that I believe that your coach should be able to push you to levels that you don't even know exist. And I don't think it's because like, oh, the coach should do everything for you. No, I think it's because the coach should believe in you more than you do yourself, and should understand your goals and be someone that really pushes you to the limit. And after I trained with my dad, I struggled with coaches because sometimes I thought that they were soft. And that was not like, they would like want to talk more than train or whatever. And I'd be like, no, we're training. So yeah, I struggled with that, but I think it was, for me, he was like a best friend because I spent a lot of time with him. Like I learned a lot from him, and I think I grew up both as a girl and a boy with him, if that makes sense. Like I did all the boyish stuff. So yeah, for me, it was a really good childhood. And then my mom was always like paying attention to our education and making sure that we're doing all of our homeworks and the things that we needed to do. So it was a good balance, to be honest.
One of the best memories I have with my family is being with my mom and dad and brother, watching my brother march in at the Sydney Olympic Games to the opening ceremony. And we were just crying, and he saw us, and it was so emotional. Was your dad and mom at Rio and Tokyo? Did they see you? What was that like? Just talk about that, because he was there from the start, and he believed in you, and he knew you are an Olympian since you were born, and then he saw it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they were not able to join for Rio or Tokyo because of paperwork. They didn't have passports. They recently got their German passports, which is like almost 10 years later now. So my dad has not been able to watch me at any of my races since Rio until I retired, which was a lot of sadness. Like it created a lot of sadness for me that my parents were not able. If it was in Germany, he would come and watch, like in Berlin, but he could not watch me at the Olympics. Both Olympics he couldn't. Yeah, it was sad, but I think he knew, he was happy, and he was very supportive. So it was sad, but I guess he was there my whole career. So.
And so now you're going to tell us that the next Olympics are in my hometown, LA. He has a passport.
Los Angeles.
We got 2 years.
I'm gonna bring him, but I'm not swimming. Maybe I'll coach. Who knows?
Maybe it'll be powerlifting.
I mean, I thought of doing running, like long distance running, because I love it, which is weird for a swimmer. Like,
No,
to
I
run.
love running.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
You're the first swimmer that says that. Do you
I
guys
know,
run?
actually. Well, yeah, Luke John.
I
Luke
run a
says he
bit,
does
yeah.
a little bit.
See?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I would call it running. It's like throwing my arms and walking very fast and being out of breath. It's not running.
I ran a marathon. I'm done with that now.
Okay, that's amazing.
There we go. Yeah. So I can imagine though, although your dad wasn't able to go to the Olympics, once a coach, always a coach. My wife's a coach, so she always gives me tips in the pool whether I want them or not. So after the Olympics and your swims, what were the calls like with him? Was he still able to kind of coach you and motivate you, or was there a separation built?
He found something wrong with every coach I had. Let's just put it there. So that was the first thing. The second thing, you'd be like, you know what, like, have fun. It's okay. You've done the work. Like, just to make me think that like I would not be able to do what I need to do without him. And it was actually something that I needed to prove to myself as well. Even if it was like my father and he coached me my whole life, I really struggled after when I got to Germany because the level that I was on was not the same as people that were my age. And then I started training twice a day and started lifting. So that took a while for me to not get sick so often or so quickly. And then like I trained for 3 years with the national team in Germany before Tokyo. So that was like really hard. And I think my dad had respect for my decisions because when I was in Syria, I left swimming for a whole year. I don't think many people know that, but when I was, I think 15, I was supposed to go to the Youth Olympic Games, but my country decided that it wasn't my turn. And I said, do a race between me and the other girl, which I knew that I was faster than. They said no, because of politics. So I wasn't able to go to the Youth Olympic Games, which is a dream. And then I retired immediately on the spot because I was really heartbroken. And then a year later, I was crying because they won a medal. The Syrian team won a medal in Asian Games, like relay. And I was like, I'm better than, whoever that is. And then my dad and mom said, you can go back to swimming, but it's all on you. We're not involved. And I got back to swimming and he was not involved anymore. And that was good for me because when I left swimming for a whole year, I understood that I was doing swimming for me, not for my dad. And that's like complicated because I started swimming when I was 3 years old and he was involved since I was 3 years old. So I didn't even realize that I needed to separate and do it for me. So that was a good, crazy break.
That's really good lessons. I have 2 kids and I may have pushed them too hard when they're younger. So yeah, now they're doing rowing or something.
Yeah.
It's important. But
but we also understand. Like I also, I understood.
You understood? Yeah. It's a lot, but it's hard to separate. I have a question about representing Syria. So, you've been to Olympics and you made your dream, but you didn't wear the Syrian flag on your cap. Talk about that feeling of it. I mean, obviously you're proud to wear a very honorable team, right? And have that flag, but you didn't have the Syrian flag. Talk about that feelings you had.
So when I qualified for my first Olympic Games, it was difficult for me to be a part of a refugee Olympic team. I questioned a lot and I was like, I don't want people to think that I have not done the sport my whole life. I have not worked hard to be a part of the Olympic Games, especially that a lot of people think that I started swimming when I got to Germany. It's a bizarre thing that people think often. So for me, it was really important to make sure that I wasn't a part of the refugee Olympic team because of my story, but because of the hard work that I put in since I was very young. So even when I went to the Olympics, I was not convinced 100% yet of the team, of like how is this team supposed to be at the Olympic Games, how are people gonna receive it? So when we were at the Olympic Games, literally, I say that very often, but the opening ceremony, walking with the team and just realizing how many people were watching and how many refugees were watching us compete from the refugee camps. The moment where we walked in the Olympic Stadium, the opening ceremony, it was a moment where I realized how many people like really respected the team, and I realized that this team holds a message that is bigger than the sport, which is hope. And then I started receiving a lot of messages from younger athletes that are refugees that are training in the camps, sending me like pictures of screens in the camps, watching and saying, I want to be like you. And then that was the moment where my mind shifted from, I want to become the next Olympic medalist to I can give back and I can make it accessible to refugees around the world to be able to do sports and to be able to hold on to something that gives them hope. So yeah, but in terms of Syria, sorry, I did not mention Syria. So in terms of Syria, there was like a struggle with that, but for me, everyone knew me as the Syrian swimmer, so that quickly did not become a problem at all. So, but I was 17 at the time, so I was struggling with being a refugee. And the second in Tokyo, I did make it to the Syrian team. My name was there, and I chose the Refugee Olympic team because of what it stands for and because everyone knew that I was already Syrian.
Wow.
That's so powerful. It was making us think about, displaced swimmers now. Vlad Bukov representing Ukraine, and there's many others who are either are dealing with some type of conflict in their country that's displacing them, moving them to other training bases, inability to compete internationally because of restrictions, etc. I'm curious, like, how you see what your kind of, I wouldn't say role, but as a leading voice in the space, I'm just curious, like, how you think about impacting those people, any advice for them, or yeah.
I mean, first of all, I find it sad that politics is involved in sports. This should never be the conversation. We should never have to talk about politics in sports because athletes have nothing to do with what's going on outside of the pool, outside of the stadiums, unless they make a very powerful political statement and they state exactly what side they're on or whatever. I don't think it's fair to not be able to compete. So for me, it's just about how can we keep politics outside of sport. And then for these athletes, what I would say is it's not going to be easy, that's for sure. And they're going to have to work with their teams, like their psychological team, their coaches, their friends, and they have to be very open and honest about their experiences to be able to move past it. And what helped me personally is how kind my teammates were to me. They did not really ask me what was going on. They just treated me like, one of their teammates. And that was good enough for me because that gave me the normality that I needed in my life. When I went to the pool, there was nothing different, whether that was in Syria or in Germany. It was the coach, the practice, and my teammates. And I think that's what helped me deal with a lot of trauma and a lot of things that were going on back home. It was just a safe space. And I think that's what they can take from everything that's going on right now is that they're still able to train and they're still welcomed in different countries, and they can still pursue their dreams. And it's not going to be easy, as I said, but it's possible for sure.
With different countries, like you said, you have the athletes representing the refugee flag and all that, and then you have also, the other countries like Russia representing, it was Russian Olympic Committee, and then different names. So it's challenging to keep politics out of sport and know what these countries should represent. So how do you feel like it should be represented at the sporting level with these countries that are in conflict? Should they be representing their flag, or should there be other flags and other opportunities for them to compete?
Yeah, this is a very, very complicated question. So for me, as I said, I don't think you get to choose where you're born, right?
Yeah.
If you're born in America, you represent America. If you're born in Syria, you represent Syria. And as I said, I don't think sports should be involved in politics should be involved in sports. So it depends on the situation as well. Like sometimes it's a doping situation, sometimes it is a conflict situation, sometimes there is a bigger story behind that. So for me, I think it's a case to case, but I think the IOC is doing their best to be able to give access to everyone to be able to compete, whether that's under a white flag or like their communities. I don't have the answer. I wish that I was able to give an answer for that, but my opinion as an athlete is that there should be a way for everyone to compete and to stay away from politics, because the swimmer is just a swimmer and the track and field athlete is just a track and field athlete, and they should be given the right to do the sports as long as they're clean.
Yeah. I want to switch gears to different coaching styles now. So I started my career in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, and I went to college in Canada. And it was a big change from the Caribbean to Canada in being laid back, being close-knit, different words, different languages, everything. I mean, you went from Syria speaking Arabic to going to Germany, not just the language, but the style, and very like boom, boom. Talk about the differences and some funny anecdotes you might have. Like, it was like some misunderstandings you had with your coach in Germany, or this style of training that you appreciated but laugh at now?
Yeah. So when I got to Germany, first of all, I was in a refugee camp. So the first goal was to actually find a pool. I saw an Egyptian translator in the refugee camp, and I was like, "Hey, I'm a swimmer. My sister is a swimmer. Can you help us?" And then he helped us find a pool. And when we went for them to test us, we didn't even have swimsuits. It was really like in the movie. So they gave us swimsuits, and then we swam. And then they did ask us if, like, they said, "Oh, you have a really good like technical foundation. Where did you train?" And I said, "Oh, in Syria with my dad." And then after that, language was definitely a barrier, but everyone in Germany, or a lot of people that were in my group, spoke English, so that was not like a big problem. But then my coach did not allow anyone to speak English with me, so I can learn German. But in swimming, it was never really a problem. I just had to learn like the names of like butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle, and I was fine. I learned pretty quickly.
In the movie, I must applaud you for actually having swimmers and people that knew swimming in the movie, watching it and seeing, oh, this person's actually swimming and doing flip turns, and actually having people that knew the sport in there was great. I can only think of the horrible movies that have non-swimmers or know nothing about the sport, where they finish at the other end in like a 75. Like Swim Fan is, I think, a notable one where it's just like, God, could you not at least run this by someone? So thank you very much for having some real swimmers in there.
When we wanted to make the swimmers, it was obviously very important for me and my sister that the swimming scenes are done by professional swimmers, and you can definitely tell all the doubles were professional swimmers. And I even doubled in the movie in the endless pool. That was me. So I think that was like, I don't know, 6 months after I retired, and the director was like, "Yusra, we need you to swim butterfly in the endless pool." And I was like, you must be kidding me. And then they were like, again. I was like, that's hard, right? Like, you know that, right? She goes, "Yeah, but we need the shot again." It's like, okay, cool. So yeah, I like swam butterfly in the endless pool for like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes and doing it again and again. But it was so much fun. And a lot of people actually mentioned that. Like a lot of swimmers were like, I was so happy that like people could swim. And it was really important. I mean, obviously, one friend of mine that is a swimmer, she was like, because you know when we put the yellow, what is it called in English? So sometimes when you're not having a competition, you take out the yellow boards out, the Omega
Touchpad?
yellow boards out.
Mhm.
So
The touch
because
bars, yeah.
exactly the touchpad. So like, so they put them while we were training as well, and the swimmers. And my friend was like, "Why do you have those on?" I was like, "It's a movie. Like, I don't know, go ask, you know."
Yusra, a few years ago, I did a photo shoot with Mike Lewis, who's a photographer that's pretty well known in the world. And Mike asked me to do a flip turn, but flip in the opposite direction because the sun was over here and the background was here. So I always flip and turn one way. And, you know, we've all done 10 million, 1,000 flip turns in our life. But to flip the other way was the most awkward thing in the world. And it was terrible. Was there anything like that with you guys? Did the director say, guys, I need you to do this, but, and it was like, yeah, that's not how it's done, but it's the movies. Was there any funny scenes that you remember?
Yeah, so they were actually pretty chill. They were very
Okay, cool.
open. They understood that this is not their field of play, so they were very respectful. Actually, whatever they asked us about, they immediately changed it. A lot of coaches were involved. A lot of people from the swimming world were involved. I mean, you also like have to think they filmed most of the scenes of the swimming on Rio. They filmed it in the London Olympic pool. So a lot of
Okay.
people were around to tell them, "Oh,
Yeah, I
this
knew.
this is not good. This is good." So yeah, the Rio scene was in the London Olympic pool, and the girls actually that played me and my sister learned how to swim also there in the London Olympic pool, which is so great. So I think there were a lot of people in the pool that would be like, "Nah, that does not look correct." But also they were really open to learning and open to just exploring the swimming world.
Yeah. I want to ask you about filmmaking. So I'm a filmmaker, and I got into filmmaking because it's, to me, the most natural way to tell a story and most natural way to experience a story. And I mean, your story was and the most natural way to have a story get out there so people can be aware of what's going on as well. And you checked all those boxes, you know, with the swimmers and your career. Is that kind of what got you into filmmaking? Is your experience and the power of filmmaking, or is it other reasons?
Yeah, no, I wanted to become a filmmaker because of storytelling and because I think the same way you do. I think it's a very powerful way to bring the message across. So I want to focus on doing documentaries, biopics, stories that are similar to mine. I mean, if I get to make a film about someone like, you know, Michael Phelps or Simone Biles, I would literally like be so happy. Like I would like just be shadowing them for like years before I make the film. So I think it's an incredible way of telling stories and making a difference in life, and that's why I chose film.
Yeah, we actually had somebody ask from Instagram. Lauren DeYoung asked if you'd ever met Phelps, and I'm curious if you ever did meet Phelps. Then what are you gonna ask of him? What tips do you want to get?
Phelps. I saw him, like I saw his final race in Rio, and I think the two of the refugee Olympic team swimmers met him last year in the World Championships. I personally did not meet him yet, but if I met him, what question would I have for him? I think I would actually ask him about how he dealt with retirement, which is like is a crazy question to ask Michael Phelps, but it's just like very few people talk about how difficult it is to move on from something you really, really love and something that you think about almost every day. So I'll probably ask him how he coped with that, for sure.
Also, somebody like him who was obviously extremely obsessed of what he did. He was a perfectionist. He dedicated his life. He went beyond what everybody does. And then to have that skill set for 20 years, this all of a sudden, where do you put that? Where do you put all that energy and that obsession and that essentially detail? And some people can go a bad path with that, unfortunately. And some people like him have done good stuff, you know, with foundations and what have you. So do you feel the same way? Like, because you're doing film school, you have your foundation, you you're working on all that stuff. Do you feel that that's why you're so busy?
Yeah.
Because you're that kind of person who wants to be like,
Yeah, I never thought of it like that clear, but I think so.
Yeah.
I think I am someone that I am, first of all, I'm a perfectionist. So anything that I do in life, I try to do it 1,000 times until it is the way that I think is correct. And for swimming, I think there is a part of me that gets very sad knowing that I did not have the same opportunities like everybody else, and that I did not train with the greatest coaches to ever exist. I did not have the best facilities. I did not have the best physical therapist or psychological help during my career. So I always have a what if moment, which is why, 3 weeks ago, I texted my coach and I was like, what if? So for me, I think I don't think you should think in a realistic way in sports, because once you do that, you limit your accomplishments. So when I left the sport, I understood that I have a bigger responsibility, and it is that if I didn't get the gold, I can help athletes, refugee athletes around the world to get there, because I understand that I love the sport so much, but I also understand that there are some people that have more potential than me that I can support. And that is, if I do the sport another 10 years, when I don't win gold, I can also use the 10 years to support thousands of refugee athletes. And I think that is the gold for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. Although I'm still kind of caught up on the fact that, your dad idolized Bob Bowman and is a disciple of his, and then you're going to miss this opportunity to ask Michael Phelps some training tip, and then you got to go tell your dad, hey, Dad, I asked him about retirement.
You know what? I think my dad is very happy because one of the people that I used to also have to watch them race was Katie Ledecky. And Katie Ledecky's, so my dad basically made me swim every race because in his opinion, when you're young, you cannot specialize. You cannot swim just 1 or 2 races yet. So he made me swim IM, he made me swim long distance, he made me swim everything. So I sat down and watched a lot of Katie Ledecky's races. So then when I went to Tokyo, I met her and we became friends because she has a migrant background actually. So I sent him a picture and I was like, Katie says hi. And he was like, oh my God, he was so happy about it. And I think he has one moment now. And if I tell him I met Michael Phelps, that's all he's gonna care about. He's not gonna care about what he says. He's just gonna take the picture, put it on his Facebook, and be like, "Look, my daughter met Michael Phelps."
We reached out to you a couple of years ago so we could talk to you, and I remember wanting to talk to you because, the movie, the story, the power of that, absolutely. But you are a swimmer, and that's what you are, like us. And I felt like that's what you're passionate about. You wanted to be an Olympian and on your own merit, and you work hard, like you said. And I felt that, and I related to that big time, seeing that passion. So I want to talk a little bit more about your swimming. I mean, I want to talk times: 109 in Tokyo, in Tokyo, in Rio, 106 in Rio. I think the improvement. I want to talk about what were you really good at in swimming? What was your best race because you had a really good X? What was your best race you had? What were you good at?
So the best I was probably IM and long distance, which is weird because I raced in hundreds at the Olympics. So my full potential would have been either 400, 800 freestyle, or it would have been 200, 400 IM for sure. But because I always felt like I had I had to achieve something in a shorter amount of time, or I had to compete in these specific races. I chose the 100 fly and 100 freestyle, but in no way I was supposed to sprint. It's supposed to be a sprinter. I don't think I am. Endurance, I was better.
I was gonna say, after pulling that heavy ass boat, you should be pretty good at sprinting. A lot of power. And here you are talking about all the power in the gym,
I guess.
too.
But you know what? It took 3.5 hours, so I don't know about sprinting.
It's open water.
Yeah, I actually even did open water in Syria. I did like with my sister. I remember. Yeah.
I like that. I had no idea about that. What was your favorite meet that you went to besides the Olympics? Was it World Youth? Was it Worlds? What was your favorite meet? Was it a meet with your sister? You know, a race, a relay with her? What was your best race?
So my favorite, yeah, it's definitely relays were my favorites always. And we used to, so here's the thing. My dad made us like swimming rivals, me and my sister, and we kind of hated it because we're siblings. It was weird. It was just weird, like competing and then going back home. And then he's like praising one and then like telling the other you suck. Like I was like, okay. It's like I'm not comfortable hearing that. Like so for us it was really difficult. And then we raced in the same races because he refused to make me swim 1 or 2 races. So I'll be like swimming the 200 fly and then I'll be swimming the 800 freestyle. And then if you look at the records book in Syria, I still have a lot of records, long and short course that no one broke yet. So for him, it was just like about, I think, hunger for so much success, if that makes sense. So yeah, for me, I don't know. I think one of the best races that I've done or I enjoyed was like Arab Championships in Jordan. Oh. I was like this tiny girl with the national team. I think I was very young. I was like 9. And I went and everyone was like, this girl is going to swim 200 fly. Really? Like she's very tiny. And then I got gold and I was like, okay, yes, the tiny girl won. So yeah, that was something that I really enjoyed. I mean, especially 200 fly. I was like, yeah, I won that. And they were much older than me, the girls that were competing. So that was a really fun race.
What's the hardest set that you've ever done?
Oh my gosh, the hardest set. Okay. In Germany, they make you do this. Oh my God. A lot of coaches do that. You celebrate New Year's. You're like, half of the athletes are like drunk or whatever. They show up to practice and then we do 100 times 100 meters. It hurts so bad because like, even if you're a great athlete, you go to bed at what, 1 a.m.? Like, even if I am like, you know, if I want to become like the next greatest athlete on the planet, I'm not going to go to bed before it's a New Year's, you know, there's no way. Even if you want to, there's fireworks. So you wake up the next day and you're like swimming 100 times 100. And this coach like does not only makes us swim freestyle, but 10 of it is a butterfly, 10 of it IM, 10 of it just like social kick. So it was like painful. Hey, well, but like when you did it, it was really, really good feeling afterwards. Social kicks were all right. Like they were the last 10 hundreds. And I was like, okay, cool. Finally, we're done.
That's a way to wind it down. But, yeah, actually, I have a theory on alcohol, though. I have to say, like, I'm not necessarily an advocate for it. Like, going to practice drunk sucks, and oftentimes it's like unplanned. No. But that said, I have had I feel like it can go one of two ways. It can either be really bad, or I have had a couple practices that were amazing, still drunk.
Because you're not thinking, maybe.
I think it's like an energy source. John, is there a scientific thing to this?
I mean, alcohol has calories, so maybe you just have more calories from the day before. So I don't know. I'm in your mind is not focused on things, so that's the benefit from it.
I think so too.
Maybe you're just not thinking of the pain, but you can sell it as a extra calorie source or energy source.
I'm telling you, I've been like ripping hundreds. In my life. Yeah, it's I mean, I don't recommend it. Go ahead, Luke.
I was going to say, it's a little segue. And don't say us, but you've had hundreds of questions about swimming and the swimmers and yourself and your career. What was the one that was the least expected and made you like, what? Do you remember like the weirdest one you've had?
Like in a good or a bad way?
And let's say in a good way. Or let's say the most unexpected that made you laugh, perhaps.
That made me laugh.
Or anything.
It wasn't like a fan or anything, but there was and I'm not gonna mention who or anything like that, but I had a conversation with a swimmer that was like well known, and then he told me like about like what the swimming, like this the swimming community thinks I earn or I earned from the swimmers, and like that everyone thinks like, you know, that I go around in a limo or whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. I like hearing stuff about myself that I did not even know exist. But yeah, it was just interesting for me because I'm not in the swimming world anymore, but a lot of
Yeah.
people have a lot
Yeah.
of, you know, rumors or things that they want to know. So it was kind of funny to me. But yeah, a question, uh, you know, the typical non-swimmer to swimmer. So, but how deep can you dive? And I'll be like, yeah, okay. Can you dive deep? Okay. Can you jump from like 5 meters? I'm like, yeah, I can. Yeah.
There's always the diving and swimming blend that never made any sense. My grandmother used to talk about. I remember her coming to a swim meet, and she would say, "What color helmet do you wear?"
Oh my God. Yeah, you need to be protected.
Go ahead, Luke.
Hey, are you tired of talking about the swimmers, or are there still scenes in the film that you're okay? I mean, you've seen it millions of times about it. Or are there still scenes that you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, I can talk about that and think about that all day long because it meant so much to me?
Both.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I find it very difficult that everyone's first question is, are you still swimming? Why is she not going to the Olympics? Why is she not competing? And I think it's just like, it also was worse timing for me to retire, but there's not really a perfect time for you to retire, right? But it was like, how dare she retire after she just released a film about her life story and making it to the Olympics? And it always, so imagine someone's gonna see that in 5 years from now, and they're gonna be like, is she still swimming? Is she gonna be in LA? And I would have the same thought, but it does hurt because I love the sport so much, and I'm someone that was just swimming and water was really all of my whole world, and still is. I'm really interested. Like I was in Paris, I have picture of myself like watching swimming. Someone took pictures, and like I had tears in my eyes for athletes that were winning gold, and it was just so incredible watching everyone and just watching the times, watching my friends win medals. It was just really, really incredible. And I think some other things I can talk about, like literally my whole life, like whether that's making it to Rio. Actually, one thing I'm proud about is the actual footage from Rio was the real footage from the IOC. So that was not planned. That was real in the film. And I was very proud of that because obviously IOC, why would they give footage to anyone? But I was very proud that we got that footage. So yeah, there are things I can talk about, and I will talk about my whole life because it's a part of who I am. It's a part of my story. But yeah, what hurts is just that I love the sport and I want to be a swimmer until the end of time. It's just not reality, and it will not happen. So my kids will definitely be swimmers. You heard it first, but like, you know, obviously.
Do they have to call you coach?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. They'll be like, yes, sir.
Talking about coach, you mentioned coaching. You're so well spoken. You've got so many experiences. You've been you swam at the highest level. You around the world. What's that coaching journey perhaps looking at? Why are you interested in coaching? We need more women in coaching.
Yeah. I am interested in coaching because I think I have the qualities to be a great coach. I don't know if that sounded arrogant, but I do really believe that I could be someone that can understand an athlete and their goals and hopes and dreams. And I can, I'm someone that, so as example, last week I was out with my friends, and then I was like, hey, how about we all go work out together? And this week I made them go work out 3-4 times a week. and they do not work out. They don't go to the gym. And I was like, look at that, us hanging out, and you were, just outside doing absolutely nothing. Now you're going on night walks with me, you're working out and so on. So I really do believe that I have a positive influence on people's lives. And I love that. And I also love screaming at people. I love bossing people around. I think that's I think that is also like perfect combination of understanding the athlete, but also kicking their ass to be the best version of themselves that they can be. So and I learned a lot from my dad. And I have a great coach to, steal training plans from. So that'd be good.
You have to.
I fear for your swimmers doing the Bob plan. That sounds brutal. As a sprinter, that sounds brutal. Love you, Bob. But
maybe I'll just call Bob Bowman. I'll be like, hey, you need a coach, you need an assistant.
All right.
Maybe. All right, we got a few rapid fires before we let you go. What's the hardest race in swimming?
400 IM.
Olympic gold or world record?
Oh, Olympic gold.
What are you reading, watching, or listening to right now?
I'm reading Atomic Habits, and it was recommended to me by my professor. And it's actually incredible because the book starts with an incredible sports story. Everyone has to read it. It's just really, it teaches you that having goals is incredible, but having plans is better to reach those goals and bigger goals. Yeah. And then what are the other ones?
Great book. Well, listening to or watching, are there any things that any shows or movies or films that you're watching, especially now in film school?
Yeah. Listening to, it's actually, I am really bad at listening to podcasts, but I really would want to listen to more podcasts, but I'm not listening to anything right now. And watching, I am watching a documentary that's called The Dakota Nation versus the United States of America. And it's a tough one to watch, but it's really important to watch. I'm taking a class about Native Americans in America. That's why I have to write a research paper about it, and I chose that documentary.
All right.
Yeah.
You get to pick 3 apps to keep on your phone. You only get 3. Which 3 are they?
Instagram, WhatsApp, because my mom would kill me if I don't have it. And then the third, wow, that's tough. Music.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Sorry, you're never seeing your dad's Facebook page again. What's the best race that you ever saw live?
I'm fine with that. Trust me.
Yes.
Also, when he posts everything on Facebook, he sends me everything on WhatsApp. So don't you worry. He will keep me updated.
Oh, the people that post something and then ask you a question. Hey, will you will you go and like my Facebook post? Hey, did you see my Facebook post?
And share it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what's the best race that you ever saw live, ever in person?
What the best? Oh, you can't do that because I watched Michael Phelps race and I watched Leon Marchand race. So how do I?
Dude.
There's like okay. No, I can't. I just could not. Both of them. Like both of them.
We'll take both of those, and then the last one.
Yeah,
is
I saw
just,
them both swim medley, so it was incredible.
Okay.
There we go.
In Rio and Paris.
Well, the two best ever to do it. So if you're gonna pick 2, those aren't 2 bad ones. Plus, they share the same coach, so it sounds like you've got some Bowman sets in your future. All right, for the great comeback that is soon to be, what's one prediction you have for your comeback?
That's difficult because I don't know. I could become a swimmer again tomorrow, and I could just. Okay, I'm gonna tell you one thing that I can predict in my swimming future, and is that I am gonna be in the swimming world for a very long time, and I want to make an impact, whether as a swimmer, which I don't think is happening, or as a coach or someone that helps the swim community become better and helps, evolve and see how we can make it a better environment, a better racing world. I'm here to support, but we'll take that up with World Aquatics. I guess I'll go knock on the door and say, hey, I'm available.
What about this burgeoning distance running career that's on the horizon?
Yeah, I honestly, so I do this. I think this is because I'm a swimmer. I do this mental challenge once a week, and I go for a 6-mile run every Sunday. And I don't hate it. I really love it because like I have this like motivational speech in my headphones that says like, do it because you want to, not you have to, and like all of those things. And I'm like, it really gives me an incredible Sunday before my Monday. And it's so cheesy because like I talk about it a lot, but there is a fire inside of me that's like, I need to do competitive sport somehow, or I need to make an impact in competitive sport. And I don't know how or when, but I'll definitely love to advocate for sports and see how I can make a difference. But I hope that I already am by allowing refugees to do sports in the camps, or we have swimming projects. We had a swimming project this summer on Lesbos, and there are a lot of refugees there that have, that have phobia from the water, because this is actually where they almost drowned or they lost their loved ones. So we help them process those emotions. And actually we accept volunteers. So whenever you want to coach, let me know, because you can go and be on my team for one summer in Greece or anywhere in the world.
Cool.
Yeah, we are also launching a few projects in LA, hopefully with SC. Who knows? But yeah, I hope that we can make a change in that way. And honestly, watching refugees learn how to swim or learn how to face their fear gave me the same happiness as practicing and being a swimmer.
Yeah, I love that. All right, last one is when your coaching career is off, how often are your swimmers doing social kick?
You know what? I don't want to take that away from them, because I loved it, and it made me want to train more. So I am going to be the type of coach that does activities and force them to have fun, if that makes sense. Because like here at USC, they do that a lot, and they have water activities sometimes that are not like practice, which like they either have like an hour extra or whatever. And a lot of people complain about it. And I'm like, that was the most of fun I had. Like my dad made us like go and jump from the, from the rings or whatever. And I loved that. And I remember that. And I remember laughing with other swimmers. So I want them to have fun. And it's very important to have fun, to be able to train the way that you're supposed to. It's not all, dictatorship.
Yeah. We subscribe to fun, and speaking of fun, it's been so much fun to get to talk to you, Yusra. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we'd love to stay in touch and catch up with you again sometime down the road. All right, that's it for this episode of Social Kick. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Great.
Hey everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode of Social Kick and you'd like to see more, subscribe to the channel. And we love talking swimming, and we'd love to talk about swimming with you. So leave us a comment, and we'll see you next time.